Today we're going to be looking at Blender 2.7, Blender 3D. We are going to be, did I say 2.7? I meant 2.57. And we're going to be answering a viewer's question. Not too long ago I showed you guys how to use depth with the camera so that you can have things out of focus depending on the distance you set to your camera. Well, someone asked me if you can animate that so that you have maybe two objects, one near and one far, and you start with one in focus, but then you focus in on the other. And the answer is yes. In Blender 2.5, anything that has a value can be keyframed. So, like if we have an object here, materials, intensity for the all the different material settings. Any of these things can be set with keyframes. So with the camera, if we come in and we go to the camera settings, you have your distance here, which is what we set the focus up with. You can set keyframes for that. So let's get our scene set up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a plane here, just a ground plane. Let's scale it up a little bit. And we will move and grab it on the Z-axis here. I'll go back to the top view here, and I'll clone that and put one further away and grab one a little bit closer. Next, I'll just kind of move to where I want my camera to be, and I'll move the camera there. Let's see if we can get those a little bit further apart. Let's go to quad view so we can get a better idea of what's going on here. I am going to move my camera down a little bit. And I'll rotate it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be exact, just trying to get some things set up here. Okay, so we have a cube up close, and we have a cube far away. So we want to set it up so we can focus in, and we'll start focusing in on the one that's far away. How about that? So I'm going to go into top view with my camera selected, and I'll choose the camera tab here. And I will then start moving up this depth here. And of course, before we want to do that, we want to set our limits on right here so we can see what we're setting with the distance. So display limits, otherwise you won't be able to see how far you're focusing. So this little white square here on our line is showing where we're focusing to. Now if I was to render this out, we also have to check our lighting. Lighting's pretty good. Cubes are kind of floating because I didn't put them right down on the plane, but that's fine for what we're doing here. I am going to move the lighting source a little bit more up here probably. And let's actually, I'm going to change it to be, just to give a little bit different lighting, we'll say that it is an area lamp. I will rotate it around like so. I'm going to go to the front view, rotate it up a little bit. I'm going to set the distance down a little bit, maybe down a little bit more, maybe 10. Let's hit F12, see how that looks. Okay, we still have a dark side of the box here, so what we can do is clone that lighting, rotate it around, and I'll put its energy down to 0.2, so it's not very bright, but give us a little bit of light on the side of the cube here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. But you notice even with our distance set, everything's in focus. That's because we have to go into the compositor and set a defocus node and set it to work with the distance we have set here. How do we do that? We'll click up here and we'll change our settings here to compositing. We'll turn on node and backdrop. We will move our stuff around here. And right here we've got our rendered out layer. Let's add in by hitting Shift A. We'll go to Output, Viewer. And we'll connect this so we can get a view in the background there of what we're working with. You can use V on the keyboard and Alt V. So V to zoom the background image out and Alt V to zoom in on it. So let's add in here. We'll hit Shift A and we'll hit a filter and we'll go down to defocus. So here's our defocus. We're going to take our image out here and put it to our image in there. And we'll connect the output here to our viewer as well as our compositor. so we can get a composited view. Also, still nothing different there. What we need to do is take the Z, which is the depth we set with the camera, and connect it to the Z here and say use Z buffer. And then we're going to set the f-stop down real low to 5. And there you go. You can see the front box here is blurred. Now it's kind of pixelated, and as I've gone over in the other tutorial, the number of samples will determine that. Let's put this up way high to like 256. And we should get a better view here once it's done compositing. Obviously, now that we put the samples up, it's going to take a bit longer. And 256 may be a little too much for my machine. Okay, there we go. There you go. We got a blurred view there. Now, if we go back to our default view here, and we choose our camera, and under camera settings, we move our distance in so it's lined up with this cube. Well, now, if we hit F12, it will render it out and add in the composite that we set inside the node editor. And we should see here in a second, once it's done rendering. Once again, those samples are slowing things down. So we rendered our 3D view, and now it's adding the effects from the node editor. And there you go. Now you can see the box that's far away is out of focus. So how would we animate that? Well, we'll start with this one up close, I guess, since that's what we have set right now. We're at our first keyframe, or our first frame, and we're going to set a keyframe for the distance here. So just hover your cursor over the distance here and hit I, and you can see it turns yellow. And in our timeline down here, you can see there's a yellow line marking that as our keyframe. I'm going to go up 20 frames, and I'll set another keyframe so that our animation starts with this, and then we'll go up a few more frames. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move our distance back out to right there, about the distance of that cube. And I'll hit I, and it will set the keyframe there. So basically what we've got going here, and you should be able to see it in our animation. So we've got our first shot here, and as we hit 20 frames, which is 2/3 of a second, you can see it start moving. And this is our camera refocusing till we get to 81 frames, at which point we're focused in on that camera, or that cube there, and it will be focusing for the rest of that render. So what I'll do is I will hit to our render settings here, and what I'm going to do is I'll set it, our end render frame to, 111 sounds good. And I will change our type to Xvid because I want to make a video. Choose where I'm going to save it. I'll just put it under tutorials, original, and I'll call it cubefocus.avi. If you don't put .avi, it will end this with the frame range, which you may or may not want. So that's all depending on what you want there. I don't necessarily need that because I'm only going to do one render of this. And I'm also going to save my project here so that I can upload it for you guys later. So I will go, where should I save this? Tutorials. I'll just save it under here as cubefocus.blend. And then I'll click animate. And this will take a long time for my computer to animate out because of the number of samples that I set for the compositor. I could lower that down, but I'll just set it tonight and it should be done by tomorrow. But as you can see, it's going to take, I'd say about 10 seconds per frame. And we're doing 111 frames, or actually 110 frames. So you do the math. It's going to take a little while. So I'll render that out, put that at the end of this video. I just want to thank you for watching. Please visit my site, filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. There's a link in the description. There's also a link in the description to the project files. Should be the first link in the description where you can download this blend file and play around with it if you're not capable of setting up this scene yourself. Also visit our Facebook page, which is also in the description. Give us a like over there. I also post extra stuff over there, stuff I upload that may not make it to YouTube, or I might post it before it comes to YouTube. Also might post just other interesting things I find online about open source stuff mostly. So go ahead and check that out, and I thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and here's a look at our rendered animation.